Amid all of the Democrats' far-left failures, their refusal to admit their mistakes or acknowledge their missteps, ask yourself, what is underpinning this obsession with doubling down on stupid, refusing to acknowledge reality, and living handcuffed inside a liberal bubble? The short answer, leftism is less of a political force trying to solve real everyday problems, and instead it is a cult in a never-ending fight with reality, hell-bent on making the world bend to their lies, all while trying to silence and destroy anything and anyone who dares to question the orthodoxy. I know you've heard that the cancer of wokeism is the left's new religion, but it's actually not. It's their cultic foundation, a set of rules and instructions meant to manipulate and control. Now, keep in mind, a cult has some basic tenets and behaviors we see not just with these so-called progressives, but now being applied by the Biden administration itself. Among other aspects, including groupthink as its foundational requirement, questions are not encouraged and even punished. Followers are to worship a group leader. The cult follows and controls all aspects of members' lives. Fear and paranoia are instilled to keep followers close and trusting only of fellow members. Outsiders, those who escaped, and opponents are smeared and cast as evil and dangerous. And members are monitored constantly to ensure conformity and allegiance to the cultic system. Sound familiar? Yeah. For 4 years under Donald Trump, Democrats and their allies in the media doubled down on the Russia collusion fraud, even with evidence pointing out the lies and the facts staring them right in the face, hysterically fueling a hoax, digging in even deeper after being disproven, pushing through a false narrative, and never letting it fall off the front page day after day, because the enemy to the status quo had to be completely destroyed. It was the left's playbook in action. Control the narrative, bend the facts, and never admit you're wrong. And then there was the abolish police insanity that everyone knew was idiotic. But that didn't stop Democrats from pandering to the most extreme elements of their party to try and paint America as a racist country. It's led to more crime, more chaos, and more unsafe streets. And we see it playing out in major cities all across the country. Later in the program, we'll talk to a sheriff who says, despite the White House saying they're helping, they still have not sent in the needed funds to address the crime surge. Or what about on COVID, where double-masked big city liberals meander aimlessly around Manhattan using facial coverings as some sort of partisan signaling exercise, despite being double vaccinated, many with their boosters, while being socially distanced. That's not science, that's insanity. It's also a way to condition people into having every aspect of their daily lives controlled by a faceless bureaucratic cult. And what about young children still being forced to suffer under masked learning despite no science to back it up? For example, here in New York City and out in Portland, Oregon, there are now reports of children being forced to eat outside in frigid temperatures in a gross display of pandemic theater. So ask yourself, why are the most restrictive, oppressive COVID restrictions being used against the group least at risk? Because if they can convince you that only the cult knows what's best for your children, everything else follows. And then there's resident village troll Flipper Fauci, who is now previewing another shifting of the goalposts, hinting that the definition of fully vaccinated will soon change to include getting a booster shot. Now, that's not all, because Fauci is also even suggesting that you check your family's vaccine status at holiday gatherings.
People should, if they invite people over their home, essentially ask and maybe require that people show evidence that they are vaccinated.
Yeah, no. Making sure someone has no idea what the next day will bring or what the rules of life will be from 1 week to the next creates confusion, depression, and, as the establishment cult hopes, surrender. Ask yourself, have you ever seen so much hysteria and consternation about who's vaccinated or who isn't, as if it's the most important identifier about someone's existence? Having your identity so intertwined with which vaccine, if you're following the new rule or not, suggestions you shun your own family for not conforming, that you judge and condemn strangers for not doing what you are doing. Sounds a lot like a cult, doesn't it? But the same pattern emerges in every single issue. Just take the recent decision to remove the Thomas Jefferson statue from New York City Hall. Now, even Jefferson is too controversial, and our founding fathers too divisive to even celebrate the founding of our republic. The statue had a place in City Hall for nearly 2 centuries, and just like that, it's gone. Their message is clear. No one is safe from the wrath of those who know best. We are to worship Marx, socialism, Hillary, AOC, Fauci, the Democrats, to prove our compliance. Even the founders, the flag, the country, and God will be removed, stored, smashed, banned, burned, or melted down. There is a destructive desire on the left. They destroy anything that even remotely contradicts their worldview. They're trying to destroy history by creating a never-ending present, devoid of the context or perspective of history, so that they can make it just that much tougher to question their endless efforts to reimagine what America should stand for. And remember, no amount of pandering or bending the knee will ever be enough. No amount of submission will ever satisfy today's extremists, and the data backs it up. For example, a new poll from Axios finds that a whopping 37% of young Democrats wouldn't even be friends with someone who voted for an opposing presidential candidate. Contrast that to just 5% of young Republicans. 71% of young Democrats wouldn't go on a date with someone on the opposite side of the aisle. And 41% wouldn't shop at a business that expressed differing political views, exposing the extent of the left's desire to live entirely within a partisan ideological prism. So take a step back. You see what's happening here, right? More and more, it's obvious that the left's endgame is to control every aspect of our lives and to freeze out anyone who does not fall in line, and to make everything worse along the way, wanting to monitor every move you make, letting paranoia prevail, indoctrinating our children that this is all normal, and even condemning the simple asking of legitimate questions. It's all indicative of a cult obsessed with having a false sense of moral superiority over everyone else, and a cult obsessed with worshiping a set of values. Really, it's a narrative, it's an agenda that is failing over and over again.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.